Hi, everyone, and welcome to Simply Cards by Kathy. I'm Kathy Andes, and today is January 31st, 2023. I thought to start the week off, because tomorrow is February 1st, we'd do some Valentine's Day cards and some quick and easy ones using the Country Bouquet suite. So I'm excited to share those with you. I don't usually do two cards at the same time, but because these are kind of quick and easy, I thought it'd be fun to do. So I am going to give you one more reminder. Because we are starting February, I just want to remind you that celebration is going on for just another month. It'll end on February the 28th. And this will be the only celebration that we will have this year, because Stampin' Up! Has dropped back to one celebration a year, and that's January through February 28th. So a little bit later into the video, I'll show you a few things about celebration, but right now I'm going to switch this over since we're going to do two cards and we're going to get started. Okay, hopefully you can see me. You should see my desktop. And if you are with me live, please leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from. If you are with me, and I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And if you're not, you can go over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, ring that little bell, and you'll get notified whenever I'm live or whenever I post a new video. Also, if you are new, I'm so glad to have you with me. Good morning, Pam from Florida. Your weather is much warmer than ours, I'm sure. We're about 20 degrees. Thank you for joining me. We are, I forgot what I was saying, but we're going to get started. So I'm going to show you the Country Suite. So I'm going to bring in the mini catalog, and this is called Country Floral Lane Suite. But today we're going to be using the Country Bouquet stamp set. I am going to show you the punch and how to use it, but I've actually punched mine all out. And we're also going to be using the Country Floral Lane paper. This is found on page 9 of your mini catalog. Now, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would be honored to have the opportunity to earn your business. And if you need a catalog, just press that little button on the upper right lower corner of the either Facebook or YouTube. Go over to my website and hit contact me. Send me your name and address, and I'll be happy to send you a catalog, hoping that you'll order from me. If you have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you don't have a catalog, contact them and ask them to send you one. I'm bringing in the Country Floral Lane paper, and this is what I have left of it. So I just want to show you the pretty patterns on this paper. We have Petal Pink and Sweet Sorbet, Mossy Meadow, Balmy Blue, Soft Succulent, or no, Mint Macaron. I'm sorry about that. So we're going to be using some of the images from this paper today. We're going to be using this paper also. But look at these beautiful floral images. And I love this one. It's very different. I'm going to be using that for a card for Valentine's Day for my husband. So if I flip these over, you have some very soft, smaller designs, some diagonals. We're going to be using some of this paper today also. So let me move these off to the side and we're going to get started. Now, we're going to be using both of these stamp sets, and this is a two-step stamp, but they're also almost distinctive images because you get some variation in color with these. And we're going to be using the greetings from this stamp set. Now, if you hear noise in the background, I'm going to apologize, but that is my 6-month-old Golden throwing his bone around the dining room. So I'm going to bring in our papers and let's get started. So we are, our first card is we're going to use this large stamps and this two-step stamp, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're using Sweet Sorbet, one of my favorite colors. It is the 2022-2024, one of the in colors. And I'm so glad we have another year of it because I really don't want this color to go away. So I am going to give you the measurements as we go along, but don't worry about them. Don't have to write them down. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., there will be a link right down below the video that will take you over to my website, where you will see the video again if you need to, but there'll be measurements and supplies, and there'll be a couple other cards on that blog than what we'll be doing today. So this is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I thought I'd use a black mat. I'm going to show you the card that we're kind of working off of for this one. This was one I made earlier in the week. And this is the design. But in the end, I wasn't crazy about it. So I thought I'd work from this and work backwards and make some changes. So this is what we're going to work from. So I have a black mat, and this measures, that's what I thought, 4 by 5 1/4. And then this one is 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to use this basic white to stamp on and to do our images. So I'm going to bring in my flowers, and you can start with either or. So I have the flowers mounted, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp those in Sweet Sorbet. Now, I did re-ink my stamps this morning, so we'll have to watch. They may be kind of juicy, and I probably should have re-inked them before this, but we're going to go with it. So I'm bringing in my piercing mat because this is a photopolymer stamp set, and you really do get a much crisper, cleaner image if you use it. So we're stamping vertically, and I'm going to put this up a little bit higher, and you'll see why in a little bit, because we're going to add a bow at the bottom. So there's my image, and hopefully you can see that in the different colors to it. Piece of something there. So I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to do it again. I don't know if I had a piece of fuzz or hair there, but it kind of got in the middle of the image. That's why you have two sides to the paper. So I'm going to flip this around, and we're going to go ahead and stamp again. And I just give it a good press, let the ink settle in. And now I'm going to go ahead and remove this image, and I'm going to bring in my leaves. And I did clean that off on my chamois. And we're just going to set this down. Now this one we're going to do in Mossy Meadow. It is just one of the colors in the paper. And let's go ahead and we're going to ink this up. Now this one is not like a distinctive. You're not going to get the variation in color that we did with the Sweet Sorbet. And because it's photopolymer, you are able to line it up with your images so that, and you can see me, if you're watching me, you can see me standing up because I don't want to get my head in the camera. So I'm lining it up so that I can bring in my leaves right around those flowers. Just give it a good press. And isn't that a beautiful image? Let me bring that up a little bit closer for you so you can see it. And you can see the variation in the Sweet Sorbet. Now I want to add a few little hearts around this big one. Not a lot, maybe just 2 or 3. So I'm going to bring my sweet sorbet back in, and we're going to ink these up. Just going to add a couple. And I think I might stop with that. Okay. Now, I did say this was going to get mounted on the black, but I want to add a ribbon to it. I think that will just add something. And I brought 2 in. One is the real red that is actually part of this sweet. And even though I'm using sweet sorbet, you can see how close they are in color. The other one I chose to bring in is the black and white gingham. So if you're watching me live and you have a preference, please tell me which one you'd like. I'm not sure which one I like. I think I might go with the, let's go with the gingham and see how that looks. So when I do my bows, and I'm going to move this off, I use my Stampin' Seal Plus. And on the bottom where I'm going to, let's make sure I have the bottom, mount the bows, I just run a small strip of that because I'm going to use that to anchor my ribbon. So let's go ahead, and I want to leave myself a long enough piece that I can tie it. And I simply press that down. And we're going to come back over here and we're going to trim off our ribbon and we're going to tie a bow. Now, this is the easiest way I have found for me to do a bow. Usually, I actually do it so that I'm doing it off opposite direction of how I'm sitting. I find that I get a better bow that way. And again, that's me. Now I want my bow to line up right under that as best I can, under my heart. And in order to, did I leave myself enough? Not quite. Let's turn this over. And I'm just going to pick this up, and you can see you can do that easy. And I'm just going to move it down a little bit more. I want to give myself more ribbon at this end, to my right. So now we're going to go back around, and I just tie it like I'm going to tie a bow. And I want to make sure my ribbon stays straight, and I'm going to get it centered. But then to hold it in place so that I can actually tie the bow, I take a glue dot. Let's get one here. Just going to pick one up. And I lift up, hopefully you can see that, and tuck that glue dot right under my ribbon. And you can see it holds it down for me. So now I'm free to tie my bow. So what I do is I make 2 rabbit ears. Oh boy, let's hold on here again. I'm just going to tie a regular bow today. I do it 2 ways. One, I do 2 rabbit ears, and one, I just do a bow like we'd be tying shoes. So what I'm going to do, so this doesn't keep sticking, is I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, and now I'm going to work with my bow. So I bring my little loops smaller, and then I just keep working that bow until I get it nice and tight and the size that I want it. And you can see a lot of times that's just kind of playing with it. And that looks good. That's pretty much the size I want. Just give it a good tug, and I'm going to trim these off. And I typically trim them so that they're right about at the edge of my layer. Now that I have that out of here, I'm just going to finesse it a little bit more. And here's our bow. So now we're ready to adhere this to our basic black layer. And I'm going to pull in my multi-purpose glue. And I even go over my bow because that's going to help to hold it in place. And we're just going to adhere this to straighten it out, which is why I use my green glue, or because I can slide it. And then we're going to go ahead and adhere this onto here. I love this stamp set. I just think it's so pretty. And what I like about it is it's not just for Valentine's Day. You can use it for a birthday. You can use it for a wedding, for an anniversary, which in reality is why I bought it, because I needed something for, just fluff up my bow a little bit, and this frayed a little from playing with it. So I'm just going to trim that down and then tighten that back up. There we go. So next we want, I want to do our greeting, and I'm using the greeting from the Country Bouquet that says, "Just wanted to say." Now I stamped it on a 1/2-inch piece of basic white, and then I cut a mat that's 5/8 of an inch wide, and I'm going to mat that so that I have a little bit of color there. Just put that down, and we're going to pop that up with our Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to bring in my minis, and let's just put 3 of them on here so that we can adhere it to our card front. I hope you're all having a great beginning to your week, and that you had a great weekend and found some time for family or time for crafting. Let's go with this right about here. Okay. Now on our inside, I want to add our greeting. And for this one, it's going to be Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm going to do that in our basic black, our tuxedo black. And I had this mounted already from using it. And because it's photopolymer, I found I had a very hard time getting it to stamp all the words when I didn't use my piercing mat. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp that. And then we're going to go back and just add a couple hearts to this. Now, if you wanted, you could add a piece of designer series paper along the bottom or even along the top. I think I'm going to add a third. And I think we're going to leave it go at that. Let's go ahead and add this in. And we'll have our first card done. So quick and easy card, and that 2-step stamp really adds a lot to the design. I love quick and easy. I also love fun folds, so you'll see me go back and forth between stepping it up and simple. So here's our first card. Now you could add some gems to that if you wanted to. I think I'm just going to leave it, or maybe we should add a few. Let's see what we have. I'm going to bring in the adhesive backed Milky Dot ovals. And let's just add a couple of these small, and I'm going to go with the white or clear, as they call them. Let's just add a couple to the flowers and see what that does. I'm using my putty part of my pick tool to actually pick these up. For me, I find that's the easiest way for me to pick them up and not be fussing with them. Let's go here. So here's our first card. Okay, so we're going to go on to the second one. Now, before we do that, I do want to remind you about celebration. Again, it ends February 28th. Remember, for every $50 you spend, you get to pick out a stamp set or some beautiful, the Dainty Flowers Designer Series paper for $50. We have the Day in the Farm. We have this great stamp set that says Sending Support, and there's 11 cling stamps there. Some more Designer Series paper, the Favored Flowers. And then for $100, you get the Beautifully Happy stamp set. You've probably seen me. I've done some cards with that. Or you can get the Dandy Designs Designer Series paper. So some great options. The other thing is, if you are planning on purchasing, if you're spending $99, really think about joining. You don't have to do videos. You don't have to sell. It's just a good value for your money. For $99, you get to pick out $175 worth of products. It doesn't matter if it's from the new mini catalog or the annual catalog. It's your choice. If you need a cut and emboss machine for $129, so $30 more, you still pick out $175 worth of product, but you get the mini cut and emboss, which is a $63 value for $30. So really think about it if you're thinking of purchasing products and you're spending $99. Now, I would love to have you as part of my team, and we have some fun. We're part of a bigger team. So I'd love to have you think about that. So here's our second card. I have pieces, parts, and we are going to go ahead and make this one. Again, Sweet Sorbet. Don't worry about the measurements. I promise they'll be there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this with my bone folder so that I get a nice crisp, and hopefully my card lays flat. Now here we're using a piece of Designer Series paper, and this is cut 3 3/4 by 5.5, and we are going to go ahead and add this to our card base. This is going to be our background. So let's go ahead and do that for the second card. And it's just meant to kind of line up in the middle. And it goes from top to bottom. Let's slide that over just a little bit more. I'm trying really hard not to get my head in the camera there, but I want to get this over a little bit more. So here's our first layer. Now our next layer, I cut a piece of Sweet Sorbet, and I'm not sure how big this was. So let's see here. This is 2 1/4, and this is 1 3/4. And we're gonna mount this right in the middle, and this is gonna go across our card as a layer. So let's go ahead and adhere this. And you can see I'm using the second side of the paper from this, from the hearts. You can see that's our front, and if I flip it over, here's our hearts. And this is running edge to edge also. So this is 3 3/4. So we have 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then no, I'm sorry, 2 by 3 3/4, and 2 1/4 is the sweet sorbet by 3 3/4. And we're just going to go ahead and mount this across the front of our card. Now this card is a quick card, and I'm going to show you why. Because we are actually using some of the die cuts from the designer series paper. So here's our card front. And let me pull in that paper to show you exactly what we're using. We're going to use the die cuts from this piece of designer series paper. And in order to cut those out, I'm going to bring in, this is the Country Bouquet punch. If you're new to punches, there's a lock here. You simply push it and unlock it. Now this paper was designed, this punch was designed to cut this paper, but also cut some of the stamped images that you can do from the Country Bouquet stamp set. So I'm going to show you how I did this. And we're only going to cut one because I have them pre-cut. So you come in and you just line your punch up with those images and press down. I'm going to move that off to the side, and you're going to have cut out the everything that you have. Part of that little heart is there because it was towards the bottom. Normally it would cut out a whole heart. And then you have your leaves, and one of them went flying here somewhere, but we will find it. So when I did that, I cut the whole piece of paper out, and you can see I put these in a Stampin' Up! Envelope, and I keep them and have them then for when I'm crafting so that they're ready for me to go. So we're going to bring one in here, and we're going to adhere that with our green glue. And then we're going to bring in the second one, and we're going to adhere that with our Stampin' Dimensionals that I set over to the side here. And not real sure where they went. So let's grab some more here. And I have some parts that we're just going to cut. I use every bit of my Stampin' Dimensionals. It's just not worth wasting them. And I'm simply going to add them here. We're going to add another one here. Okay. And I'm going to bring in my pick tool. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of adhere this one right like that, so they're overlapping. Now I went ahead and I stamped, again, I used the same greeting, just wanted to say, and I wanted to overlap, but this is a little bit long for me. So what I'm going to do is just trim it down with my snips. Let's get that out of there. And I'm going to use a glue dot to adhere this to the heart. And then a Stampin' Dimensional for the end. So let's get one of those. And I'm going to put one in the middle. And then let's grab another glue dot. And I'm going to pick that up just on the end here. And that's what's going to hold it down as we lay it over the heart. So I want this to line up just with my edge. So there's our card front. Now let's do the inside. So for the inside, I thought it would be fun to stamp that great big heart that we did on the other card. So before we do that, let's grab, and we're going to go with the Mossy Meadow first, since I still have the leaves on my block. So let's go ahead and ink those up. Okay. I have a Stampin' Dimensional here. And I am going to bring my piercing mat back in. And we are going to just go ahead and stamp down. So there's our leaves. Let me wipe off use my chamois to clean my stamp. And we're going to bring in the flower stamp. Now, you're going to notice, and this is a good time to tell you that, you're going to notice, I'm just going to drop this down here and pick it up, because if I pull on it, and it's not going to mount the way it should. You notice that the photopolymer stamps will pick up ink from pinks, reds, some of the oranges, and the purples, and they will stain your stamps, and I clean mine immediately. It does not affect your stamped image. That is just a characteristic of photopolymer stamps with the certain pigmented inks. So I'm going to ink this up. Okay. And I'm going to bring this in just a little bit closer, but make sure that you can see. And I'm going to line up my flowers. And stamp down. And again, you can see the variation in color with the Sweet Sorbet because it's more of a distinctive image. Now, I thought it would be fun to add some of the paper that we used on the front for an edge. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to add it to the bottom here. Okay. And I believe I had a second one cut here to use. But right now I can't find it. So let's go ahead and we're going to stamp with the Valentine's Day, the Happy Valentine's Day. So again, this one is going to say the same thing, just wanted to say Happy Valentine's Day. So we're going to ink that up with our Tuxedo Black Memento. And let's bring this back in. You could have stamped it up. I like it down. And then we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the inside of our card. Now I'm going to flip this over, and oftentimes when I'm cutting a strip, and I use 3/8" strips to go across the top or bottom of my insides, I sometimes will cut them a little bit longer, better longer than shorter, and that way I can just flip over the cardstock or the layer and trim that off. Okay. Isn't that a pretty inside? So let's move this out of the way, and here's our two cards. So this one is where we stamp the image on the outside and then just a simple inside with our greeting. This one, we use the die cuts with the Designer Series paper on the outside and then stamped that pretty two-step stamp on the inside and added our greeting. So here's today's cards. Here's the one that I made that I decided to change up a little bit. So let's move these over. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to share the video. It helps me grow my channel. If you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, you'll get notified. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back with you at Friday at 11 o'clock. And I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you soon.